startups, entrepreneurship, starting your own new business. Join me every week as we dive into stories, topics, and advices from the top founders, innovators, the crazy ones, the misfits, the troublemakers. Every Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll see you there.
As a company, how do you guys actually plan for the future when there's so much uncertainty around you?
You got to be honest. Look, if you're honest, eventually your work will speak for itself. The startup it starts with an idea, and then after that, it goes into proving the concept.
I think we built our business in a very transparent way. Times are bad right now, but my opinion is the best companies are built in tough times.
It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. We just don't look at things that way. We're like, look, we're building something, and we're being honest about it.
You mentioned that you guys are 5 partners. All लोगों का क्या background है, and how do you guys make the partnership work?
One of the biggest things is keeping your ego aside. And when you've known people a long time, you can disagree in a room when it comes to work. But if everyone's goal is to build a business, you can argue, disagree, but you'll come to a logical conclusion and then you can go out and have dinner. That's the key.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Saad Allahwala. We're back with another podcast with 2 very special guests. Usually it's only one-on-one as we were just discussing, but now we have, since there was 2 very, very insightful and amazing people who were going to join, so it's a great opportunity. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Vishal bhai and Sharyar bhai from a very interesting startup because we don't hear about them much. And their name tells something else, but they are actually something else. It's Trukkr, who just started their PR. And they've also raised a lot of more money. Their exact figures मैं भूल गया हूँ.
6.4 million.
Pakistan के तो खासे हैं. वैसे भी अच्छे खासे हैं. So thank you guys for coming. And giving me
Thank
the
you
time.
for having us.
Thank you for having us.
शरियार भाई और विशाल भाई, एक तो ये है कि आप लोगों ने पाकिस्तान में बिजनेस शुरू किया, मगर कैसे किया, क्यों किया, ये कैसे हो गया, थोड़ा सा अगर आप मुझे इस बारे में बताएं.
Mishal and I have known each other for quite a while. We actually went to elementary school together. We used to carpool together actually. So we've known each other for a very long time. Some years back we were talking, Mishal can talk about, he was in technology. I had done banking, both in abroad and in Pakistan. And then I got into logistics and transport. So we were just talking one day and we thought that, there's an opportunity to sort of fuse these 2 things, technology and transport, and digitize the transportation industry. And then we talked about it 2-3 times. And then one day we said, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just start this up. So I was, I just finished a banking career, and I had also started a logistics company with one of our partners, Ali Haji. So we had started this, and we were doing trucking. So literally on the ground trucking, and my father, at that time was like, are you getting trucking? You have a banking career. So we were pretty determined to do it. And so that's where we got a lot of the experience on the trucking side. It wasn't just, okay, we want to get into the trucking sector. We actually worked in the trucking sector on the ground before we started this. Again, just an idea. It was a challenge. So
आपने किसी की Instagram reel देख ली थी, क्या हुआ ना, ट्रकिंग में इतने पैसे हैं, ऐसे कुछ शुरू कर लो, क्या हुआ?
Well, to be honest, me and my partner, we were sitting and just having lunch. And I had studied a bit of supply chain in college, and as an engineering background, I was like, maybe we can apply some of the stuff that we've learned in theory in the industry. And then I quickly realized, I'm like, let's just start it. We'll just get a truck and we'll drive the truck ourselves if we have to. We literally just get on the road. And that's what we did. We just got a couple of trucks and we just started.
Yes, I think Sharyar put it quite nicely. So Sharyar and I have known each other for a long time. One of our third co-founders, Waqas, he was also in school with us. So we've known him a long time. And Ali, our fourth co-founder, I know him from, we played sports together as kids. And Sharia and him were in college together at Columbia in New York. So they got to know each other really well. And our fifth co-founder, Kasra, is our CTO. He's a young guy who basically we hired really young and really smart, and he sort of proved his capabilities over time. And when we sort of started Trukkr, we're like, we trust this guy to sort of build the technology out and sort of fulfill that technology angle while we sort of built out the operations and business. So yeah, my background is went to college in the States, and then I worked in private equity out of Dubai for a few years. It was a great experience, and then I moved back to Pakistan because I wanted to, number one, come back to Pakistan and see if we could really do something which could add value or make a difference on the ground. I think that's everyone's sort of hope when you study abroad and you get some experience. You're like, can I come back to Pakistan and add some value to my country, right? Yeah. That's everyone's hope. So I came back, and my brother and I started a business in the trucking parts industry. So we started providing diesel parts for trucks across Pakistan and Afghanistan at that time, and some countries in Africa. So the story of why we did that is a very long story. My dad worked with a German company called Bosch, and he represented them in some countries. So we saw an opportunity for that in Pakistan as well. And we're like, okay, let's build this business out here and grow it out. But the upshot of that basically is that it gave me a good insight into the trucking industry and gave me an idea that, okay, this is a massive industry. It has really good stakeholders who have long proven histories of doing good business. But it's pretty invisible to the outside world. Like, no one really understands that trucking world. So in 2017, my brother and I sold that business and we sort of exited it. Bilkul, ji. So we sold that business and we're like, okay, we've built a business in Pakistan, we scaled it. And at that point, technology was very interesting to us. So we're like, let's sort of understand technology a little bit. And let's learn a little bit and see what the potential is in this sort of space, right? So my brother and I started a VR studio. Terrible idea as time has proved. VR never caught on, but what it did do was it enabled us to sort of learn how to develop technology from scratch, how to come up with an idea, how to fundraise, how to build a business around a technological underpinning. So we basically built a VR studio, and that's when Sharia and Ali and I reconnected, and we're like, I said, hey, wait a second. There's an Ivy League educated banker who's been running a trucking company for the last 7 years.
Who'd never had a VR experience, which I got first time at his office. He put on the goggles and I'm like, what is it? Some dinosaur park or something. I was like, I'm getting dizzy. This is a yeah. So
I was like, we had seen some of the opportunities when we were doing trucking parts because we were working with the same stakeholders, right? And so we got to talking, and he was at the time active with the trucking company. I had seen the sort of potential of the trucking part side, and we got to talking, and ultimately we saw that there's the industry level sort of opportunity, right? Where there's this massive multi-billion dollar industry, and it's sort of hidden from the rest of the country. No one really understands it. It's very fragmented. And that was a starting point. And Sharia can talk about it more, but like massive industry, very fragmented, quite wealthy, quite important to the country. I mean, we're an agrarian country, we're an industrial country, we're an export dependent country. So, the railways don't really work in Pakistan. There are no water barges moving cargo up and down. So trucking is really, really important to the country. So the premise of Trukkr was trucking is really important. It's really big. It's really fragmented. Now, what can we do about that?
No, and honestly, as a trucker, as an ex-trucker, I would say, not this trucker, but a few times. Actually, I'll tell you a story about that. Once before Ramzan. So we used to do distribution of Coke, and right before Eid there'd be a surge in demand. So and it's funny because at that time is when some people would start to go into some they'd leave for their villages, or so there'd be a shortage of truck drivers at the time. So literally the accounts guy, myself, whoever was available in the office the last few days up to Chandrat, we just got in. We were doing deliveries ourselves, on the truck. So we've done that too. So, but the struggle of the truck driver is that they're as Mishal said, no one sees the kind of experience that the truck driver has. It's just a guy. For example, every driver has a dream to own a truck. Once he owns a truck, he's running a business. And that business means that he needs certain things. He needs a way to track his business. He needs money to buy fuel. He needs money to run all of that. And that's a problem that we came out to solve, right? Because he does a trip, but he's going to get paid later, for example, right? And he needs to run his business. So we gave the technological solutions and the financing angle to solve that problem. That was really the genesis of Trukkr, to be honest. And from there we obviously built into more software solutions for corporates to manage their business, to manage their supply chains, to basically digitize the part of a company's operations that was previously done on pen and paper. Ultimately it was pick up the phone, I need 5 trucks. Now I got to go find those 5 trucks. What we've done now is that we have a software which allows companies to basically do all of that digitally. So that's really what we're doing.
So initially, even up till today, when I thought about Trukkr, and even when we were talking before, I always thought that Trukkr was similar to what Truckr is doing, and what on the Uber model.
Yeah.
Marketplace है, लोग आके list करेंगे, मैं जाके इस पे डालूंगा as a हमारा कागज का काम है.
Yeah.
तो उसमें आगे डालूंगा मुझे 10 ट्रक्स चाहिए लाहौर माल पहुंचाना है.
Yeah.
तो आप मुझे arrange करके दे देंगे.
Correct.
But primarily, so you said that
We don't do that at all. We don't. Yeah.
So you're into mobility, but you're not in mobility marketplace. You're actually in
Facilitating. We're facilitating. So we are bringing together corporates and the transporters, but we're not doing the we're not a broker.
Okay.
Basically, those models are very brokerage-driven models. They're like an Uber for trucks.
Huh.
We're a platform which we're saying, look, everybody's welcome to be on our platform. You can use our technology. It'll make your life better. And if you need financing, that's us.
But what's financing for truckers? अभी तक मुझे ये वाला part समझ नहीं आया कि trucker को पैसे क्यों चाहिए?
He needs money because his expenses. He has to purchase fuel. For example, when you go on a trip, you need to buy fuel, and you're only going to get paid once you're done.
Oh.
So that's in a nutshell. That's So and then once he's done that. He's finished his trip, maybe he doesn't get paid immediately then also. So he needs to continue working further, right? So to help him along the way, that's where we come into the picture, right? So he can continue running his business. So you don't have to wait for his payment, he can continue working.
And because banks weren't actually catering to this segment,
Correct.
this industry, you guys
Yeah,
are.
absolutely. And banks are focused on corporate lending, and banks, have their certain ways, and fintechs have come in across Pakistan in different industries where microcredit and microfinance is operating, right? So that's where we're in the transport sector, the other fintechs and other sectors. So.
Now, have you guys gotten any license? License?
Absolutely. So we obviously run a very compliant operation. We have gotten our NBFC license, which is the license that's required to actually lend. So in Pakistan, you can't lend if you don't have a license. And unfortunately, a lot of people are doing that. So a lot of people are doing lending, but we, if you want to be a lender, you need to get a license or you need to have a banking license. There are only 2 ways to do it. So we did get a license, and then we started our lending products.
अगर मैं थोड़ा सा आप लोगों के बैकग्राउंड के बारे में और थोड़ा पूछना चाहूँ कि सही आप लोगों के निकाल पर I guys brought up in Karachi, उसके बाद यूनिवर्सिटी तक कैसे गए, क्योंकि एक ये भी जर्नी एक बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग होती है कि बंदे का चाइल्डहुड या पास्ट था कैसा कि उसको बिजनेस में, एंड देन व्हाट एक्चुअली ट्रिगर्ड यू टू डू अ बिजनेस, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोगों को तो पाकिस्तान से बाहर निकलना, even people with good, very good families, majority just wants to stay out. ये वाला आपके चाइल्डहुड में कहाँ आपको लगा कि प्लांट किया है बचपन में? हमारे यहाँ तो होता था कि डिनर टेबल पे हर रोज ये बात होती थी कि पाकिस्तान में हम कैसे ये वाला मसला सॉल्व करते हैं, मसला सॉल्व करते हैं. Even if we would go out, our family people would come back to Pakistan and
absolutely
really work it. वो वाला मुझे थोड़ा सा
Vishal can start that.
Vishal is the best idea.
Sure. So, I mean, I think we come from families that have had a long history in Pakistan where we feel a sense of responsibility and love for the country, right? And you want to come back and you want to add value. And I think the easiest thing to do is just to like get a nice job abroad, live in New York, and it's a nice life, right? But I think sort of it's our duty almost to, I'm not saying to give a selfless life, but to try and do as much good as you can while also sort of achieving your own goals and targets in life, right? So for me, and I'm sure similar with Sharia, I'll talk about it, it's just growing up, we spoke a lot about business on the family dinner table. I come from a business family. But one thing was very clear to me and my brother from early on was we didn't want to sort of work in the family business. I think when you grow up learning our business, part of that is also sort of doing your own thing, making your own way, making your own mistakes, and sort of ultimately having your own control over your destiny, right? So we grew up in a family business environment, but with the goal not to work in that family structure and to work outside of that, while taking a lot of learning from that upbringing, right? So my first goal was to sort of learn by working a job and understanding what it's like to sort of work your way up, right? So I worked in private equity in the Middle East for a few years, and it was great, and I learned a lot. And ultimately, I think I always wanted to do my own business, and it's not about the money or you make more money or less money. It's about the sense of accomplishment and sort of goals you want to target. So when I came back and started my business in Pakistan, it was a really important moment because it was very challenging because I had grown up in Pakistan my whole life, lived in Karachi my whole life, went abroad for college, worked abroad a few years. So I had just come back to Pakistan after probably about 7-8 years abroad, right? And there was a learning curve. You learn a lot, you make some mistakes, you sort of understand what it takes to succeed on the ground in Pakistan. And that was a really, really fulfilling journey. And ultimately, I think in a country like Pakistan, there's so much potential on the ground, but it's hard work to get there. And part of that's our Trukkr journey as well, right? I think we did our startup a little bit different because we had built businesses in Pakistan before from scratch, and we had scaled them pretty big. So we understood that when you look at other countries like in the Middle East or in the Far East, there's a lot of infrastructure on the ground people take for granted that didn't exist in Pakistan, like payment platforms, a more robust sort of tech infrastructure. So for us, with Trukkr, it was about, we got to spend a lot of time, a couple of years at least, really building that foundation, right? That strong foundation. Do we have strong origination? Do we have a large number of people using our platform? Do we have sufficient data to back up our assumptions and show us where the real opportunities are? And that took a long time. And I think in that time, sort of the hype around Pakistan sort of rose and died out a little bit, right? But I think ultimately that fundamental thing of, if you build a strong business with a strong infrastructure and a strong supporting sort of apparatus around it, even in bad times, you will find investors who sort of really believe in that mission and believe in what you've built, right? So that's really been a fulfilling journey for us.
As Mishal also said, so my family also comes from a very, old business family. So, business was dinner table talk, sort of, always ideas and ideas and ideas. So many ideas that, I thought that I was, not good enough because I'm like, these guys are literally able to come up with so many business ideas that I don't have any, So, but as I said, all those years of hearing and understanding and going to the office and seeing, a lot of the things that you learn, you pick it up along the way. You see, like you pick up small things that you use now. You see what you shouldn't do. For example, fights that people have within family businesses. You learn about those things. So many things that you would not learn otherwise, right? Those are soft things that you learn. So that was there, but ultimately I decided. I was in Pakistan. I went to elementary school, high school here, and then I went to New York for university. I did my undergrad in New York. I also did my master's there. And I joined. I was an engineer by training, but I got swept up in the hype of the 2005, 6, 7. Those were really good years on Wall Street. So I joined. A bank on Wall Street, and I was working on Wall Street, making good money. Those were good times for a young guy. 23, 24 years old.
Aajkal wala Bitcoin.
Yeah, I guess you could say that because 2009 hit, and the financial crisis happened. Those were tough times. In those times, you start thinking whether sort of almost like a philosophical moment. That you want to do something on your own. So decided to move back to Pakistan and start something. And initial few times, when you move back, you sort of look at when you've been away and you're starting, you make mistakes and you fail. So first couple of tries were a failure, and decided to continue banking here in Pakistan. So I actually took up a job at a local bank, and honestly, that experience was really valuable. Honestly, it was really valuable to really understanding the financial system here in Pakistan. And then went on to start the transportation company. And that combination of transport and finance is really what I'm sitting here doing now. So it's that journey. I didn't plan it that way. It just happened. Part of it just happened, right? Like I did banking, I did trucking. Okay. And now I'm doing that, so it worked out, right? Sometimes there's luck and journey is there, but you have to just keep at it.
Yes.
You have to keep at it. You got to be honest with yourself, and you got to just keep going.
This teaches a lot. KG, हम लोग काफी time. A lot of people are doing something that they didn't think they would be doing, and they just can't find a way towards future with that specific task. लेकिन उसकी वजह से इतना कुछ सीख लेते हैं कि अगली चीजों में it really helps a lot. And
Exactly.
I think it did the same with you guys.
You got to be open-minded to really apply what you've learned, and also realize that you should always be learning. Those are two things. If you can do those two things, then things will happen. And tough times, you just got to keep going through the tough times, and then things go up and down. That's what people sometimes I've seen people just give up when things get tough. Just keep going.
You said talking about tough times. You mentioned that you guys started during COVID, like right before COVID. जो आजकल के दौर, अच्छा एक और टफ टाइम्स के लिए एक और चीज, अभी ग्लोबल रिसेशन आ रहा है, हर चीज टूट रही है, लेकिन आप लोगों ने अभी पैसे रेस किए हैं. उस टाइम में लोगों ने आप में ट्रस्ट भी कर लिया, एंड देन दे डिड इन्वेस्ट. तो how do you, as a company, how do you guys actually plan for the future when there's so much uncertainty around you as partners?
So look, COVID part, I can say that we had started planning the business, we had started developing our software before COVID, and as soon as we decided to launch, COVID hit. So I'll say it again. In hindsight, I can say that us being adaptive, changing our strategies, and realizing that look, you're sort of on war footing, for lack of better wording, and we're like, look, it's not like it was unique to us. You see, COVID was affecting everybody. So if you're adaptive, then you'll find a way. And we just never thought we're going to give up. We just said we're going to keep going. And that's what we did. And we adapted our strategies, and we it's work from home, but we made it work, and we continued throughout, and we kept our heads down. we didn't get caught up in the hype. And as for fundraising, Mishal is expert on that, so he can, he can.
No, I think fundraising is just it's, as I said, if you work hard to build a good company, I think people see value in that. And of course, there's a lot of luck and there's a lot of hustle. You gotta really make an effort to get out there. I mean, we made a big effort to really reach out to hundreds of people and share our business and what we're doing. And I think one of the things that was more challenging for us as a startup was we didn't have a local VC anchoring us. So getting good investors from abroad to sort of lead the investment it's a little bit more challenging. But I think we built our business in a very transparent way, where because we were so confident in the systems we had built and sort of the processes we had built, that we were comfortable sort of letting people into the tent and giving them a front row seat to sort of the inner workings. And people saw, okay, we really like what you've built and how you guys have built it. And I think that sort of gave the confidence to sort of come on board and partner with us, right? And yes, I mean, times are bad right now, but my opinion is the best companies are built in tough times. The best startups in America came out of the 99-2000 crash, right? Again, some great companies came out of the 2008-2009 crash. So I think some great businesses in Pakistan are going to come out of this recession or whatever you want to call it, right? So I don't think it's notable that you raise money in a time like this. I think it's just testament to a strong business. But at the same time, you realize there's a very long way to go to achieve what we want to achieve and really drive that impact for the truck drivers, right? And can we achieve all of our goals and targets? And there's a long way to go. So we just, as Shahyar said, our objective is keep our head down and just stay focused on the work, because there's a lot of work to do.
And you guys did that for 4 years?
And let the work speak. You got to be honest. The startup is not, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's really not. I mean, it might look like, from the outside, oh, we raised a bunch of money, valuation goes up. We just don't look at things that way. We're like, look, we're building something and we're being honest about it. You got to be honest. Look, if you're honest, eventually your work will speak for itself. That's what you should be doing. You shouldn't be making up numbers. You shouldn't be doing all these things. These are all short-term things, right? Because that's the whole thing. The startup it starts with an idea. And then after that, it goes into, proving the concept. And then once you prove the concept, you're proving the business economics itself. I would say those are the three main things. Everything else is irrelevant. And if you're just executing that, then people will recognize you, right? VCs are there they're there to find companies. So then if you're just doing your work, then they'll find you, and just be honest, be honest that this is what we're doing.
I think it's important to sort of echo Shahyar's earlier sentiment that just you can't give up at any point. You have to, if you really believe in what you're doing, and by that I mean the mission you're trying to achieve, right? Which is bringing sort of financial inclusion for unbanked sector. You have to remain really committed to the cause, because I mean, there was a time when we probably had $1 for every $20 other players in the industry had. And so we had to learn to be smart with money, how to scale a business economically and smartly without. So it's almost like you're building a startup culture-wise, but you're building it on the fundamentals of a small independent business, right? Which is every dollar counts, every cent counts, every day is important. Because, and it's okay because I mean, you just have more limited resources. So we're very proud of what we've built in terms of what we achieve with very little money. And I think because we were able to sort of build so much with so little, it gave people confidence that as the business scaled up and as the business grew, that we could bring those same economies to a scaling business. And I think that's really, really important in Pakistan as well, which is you're running a startup and you get caught up in all this talk about startup and this and that, but you're still running a business, and you have to, and it's literally important to understand how much money you make and how much money you spend, and are you making money? And it's important to start asking these questions very, very early on. And I think because we ask these questions of Trukkr very, very early on, is that how much are we going to spend? And it didn't matter how much we raised, it's how much are we going to spend and what kind of culture do we want to have in the company in terms of how to spend money and how much money do we want to make and do we have a strong focus on revenue generation? And these things are very, very important for anyone looking to sort of build their business and scale it.
I think if there's strong mindset or finance के mindset वाले लोग साथ होते हैं तो it's very expect करेगा कि सब हो.
I'm still fighting every day, even if someone buys extra paper or prints too many extra pages of color printouts. I'm still fighting that. I haven't changed day one, to day 1000. It's the same. You got to stay true to your principles.
You mentioned that you guys have 5 partners. All लोगों का क्या background है and how do you guys make the partnership work? That's a big struggle. In Pakistan, a lot of businessmen don't like to do partnerships. They don't trust. This trust factor that's still very missing. आप दोनों का तो पुराना relationship था, बहुत time से जानते थे. But और जो 3 लोग हैं, उनके साथ कैसे partnership? How are you making it work?
It's very simple for me. My basic sort of philosophy when I wanted to get into the startup space was, okay, now I have the opportunity to work with the smartest people I know. And that's sort of the difference, right? In Pakistan, when you build a business, you're sort of doing it alone, right? Or maybe with a family member, or maybe with one friend. And what a startup gives you is opportunity to say, okay, there are 3 or 4 really smart people. Let's put them together in one room and let's see what comes of that. So my objective was, can I work with the smartest people and people I know for a long time? And I think to answer part of your question is that when you know people for a long time, you can have difficult discussions. You can say what needs to be said and no one's going to go home and cry about it. And, people sort of, you take it in, you absorb it, and there's a common understanding, right? Where everyone understands that there's a mission that's bigger than us, that we're all working towards. We've put a lot of sacrifice, a lot of time into the mission of Trukkr. So the mission is bigger than the people. And so ultimately, when you align behind the mission and everyone believes in it, and it sounds corny, but it actually is true, right? Because when you believe in something so strongly, everyone sort of adapts to that reality where the mission is bigger than the person. And the other part of it is that we're doing a really, really difficult thing. We're building technology, you're digitizing an industry, you're banking an industry. It requires a lot.
Difficult industry. I mean, talking to truckers, it's a very big obstacle.
I think people, again, I think truckers are really, really amazing people, and people don't have the opportunity to really interact with them. So there's a impression generally, though, this is tough. It is tough because they've never been given support before by anyone, right? No one's ever reached out to them and said, I'm going to help you, I'm going to help digitize you, I'm going to help bank you, I'm going to give you the support everyone else has. So for the first time, when you reach out with that hand, you see a very different face and a very different approach from those individuals, right? So I think our approach has been different, but to the point that the mission is really big. You're building a bank and you're building a technology company in one. So I think it's really important to have 5 founders where the key thing for me is you can really depend on everything. You know each person a very long time, and you can depend on each person to really own what they're doing and give their best effort. That's all you can ask for, right? To give the best effort and try to make that mission a reality.
No, and we have our disagreements. It's not that we don't, right? But as Vishal is saying, that one of the biggest things is keeping your ego aside. And when you've known people a long time, you can disagree in a room when it comes to work. But if everyone's goal is to build a business, then you can argue, disagree, but you'll come to a logical conclusion, and then you can go out and have dinner, and be back to normal, right? That's the key, is keeping those egos aside. That recognizing that, look, you can be wrong and your partner can be right, and vice versa, right? You gotta keep an open mind. And I think that's the problem. In Pakistan also, a lot of problems will be solved if people put the egos aside.
Yeah, I would say, so I was at a economy के ऊपर event था of Mifta Ismail at Habib University, वहाँ पे शायद खान अब्बासी भी हैं, सारे top businessmen वहाँ पे पहुँचे, and उन्होंने यही किया नोट कि बहुत मसले हैं, बहुत हल है, बहुत कुछ है, लेकिन the people who are in power right now, if they just put the egos aside, because this time that we're in right now, it's actually very difficult for our masses.
Absolutely.
We can't think about the difficulties that we're facing with whatever and whoever.
Absolutely.
So you're right. So operating in a company, operating with a country, everything is...
It's the same idea, right? It's everything is about a level, and egos are I think the biggest challenge. You know, when we first started working together, we were still feeling out how we're going to work with each other. But now, you know, we know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you know, and we're like, okay, you know, if this is your project, you go and do it, you know, and then come back, and if you need help, you'll ask. If you don't need help, you'll do it. You know, it's you got to let people, you got to trust people, and you also have to be willing to help when needed. You know, that's the way. And you know, through our experiences, we've learned that. You know, we've lived in countries where people, you know, this culture is what has really caused those countries to go ahead. Because Pakistanis are very talented people. You know, I mean, I everywhere I see, there's so much talent. You know, there's so much talent.
It's crazy.
But you know, it's sad to see that a lot of it goes to waste. You know, I'll be honest, it just does. Because you know, a lot of people don't recognize that the people need to be uplifted and given the opportunity to really shine. You know, that's why people start leaving Pakistan, right? They start leaving and they see better opportunities. It's not better opportunities; they're leaving for a higher pay. They're not necessarily leaving for better opportunities.
अच्छा higher pay भी बहुत सारे लोग हमारे स्मार्ट लोग जाके मैकडॉनल्ड्स जाके भी फिर चैलेंज फेस करने के लिए राजी नहीं होते, वो जाके मैकडॉनल्ड्स पे काम करते हैं.
I know, but if McDonald's, you're going to be making $3,000 at McDonald's, then of course it's going to be. You know?
Even there, we're not happy. हम लोगों का विजन ही होता है कभी गूगल पे जाके 2.5 लाख 3 लाख डॉलर की नौकरी करनी है.
I know, I
You're
know,
right.
exactly. It's sad because you know, you have to. If people were supported here to the level where they are in other places, then you know, then we can turn this around in the next 5-10 years.
Yeah.
I think even less with our
You know,
smartphone penetration.
there are way more talented people than us out there.
Yeah.
We're just lucky.
You're talented because you actually took up the challenge of working in Pakistan. And
Yeah.
it's not that it's difficult to work in Pakistan. It's a favorable environment. मेरे ख्याल से तो बहुत इससे ज़्यादा easy environment बहुत कम मुल्कों में मिलता है. हम बदनाम बहुत करते हैं.
There's a reason why Pakistan is attractive to the world at large, because I mean, people are going to be sick of hearing this, but it's on every pitch deck and it's on every like website known to man. But you have very favorable demographics in this country. You have a very young population that's unique in this world. A lot of countries don't have young growing populations, and I think our challenge as a country is to educate these people before they really age out, right?
The best infrastructure available to educate the people is this thing.
Yeah.
And there's 170 million of these in Pakistan.
Yeah. And I think there are going to be some amazing companies built here over the next 10-15 years. And as Shaya said, if sort of people get their mind together the right way and they focus on doing things in a productive manner, I think that a big change can happen. And you've seen other countries where, it's not exaggerating, that tens of billions of dollars of value has been added to these countries just by sort of integrating the technology sector into the mainstream. And I think that's going to happen here eventually, and the sooner the better. But I think people need to also recognize that there's a lot of work that needs to be done before you get there. And I think what the hype time has shown us is that there's no shortcuts, and you can't just skip 3 or 4 years of development. That is required to get where we need to be in terms of infrastructure. So as long as everyone's willing to put their head down and work for the next 5-6 years and do what's required, I think the potential is really scary.
It really is, and so much potential. And I know one company that is doing it mass level now, Trukkr, a very good scale. So what's your guys' vision for the next 5 to 10 years? If we talk, rather than talking about other people, what they can do, what are you guys doing?
The vision is really to put simply, first is to digitize this market, right? It's completely, the pen and paper and phone call approach. We would like to digitize it. Once we do that, we will have achieved, 60-70% of our goal, because we would have really brought, 500,000 people working in this sector, drivers and helpers, up that curve. and that will have a sort of a sort of butterfly effect. It'll really bring that whole industry into the fold. Multiple opportunities will open up. So, and we want to be that. We want to be that name. That name for truckers, for the industry, to be the technology backbone as well as the financing backbone for that industry. And we want to keep that vision focused and simple. I don't want to come here and preach some bigger vision than because that itself is a big challenge. So
yes. And it's a large country.
Absolutely.
So you guys have been in the market. You guys have been silent, but you guys have, so in the past 4 years, there's so much that has happened. आपने mentioned किया कि हमारी it went from a surprisingly very fastly हम लोगों ने बहुत ही favorable market बनाई investments के लिए, सब कुछ के लिए, अपने एकदम से नीचे भी आ गए. तो आपने ये भी देखा, we saw airlift close, we saw a lot of things happening. What do you see in the startup industry overall in the next coming years कि जी कोई अपना start कर रहा है या किस चीज का वो ख्याल रखे जो आने वाले startups?
I'm just going to reiterate what I said earlier, and that is that I think the best companies are built in bad times. I think, of course, there's going to be a residual effect of sort of that hype market where the companies that were overvalued perhaps or raised too much money without product market fit are going to have a tough time raising. But ultimately, listen, founding a company is a really hard job, right? Running a business is really, really hard. So you have to sort of, as we said, we've all failed. Failure is part of the whole cycle, and it's part of the cycle of growth and learning. And companies there's going to be a sort of short-term upheaval in the sector because right now Pakistan is not high on people's sort of investing in list, right? So there's going to be a sort of short-term thing, but I think you're going to see a lot of really, really important companies grow out of this environment that we're in right now, which is high interest rates, high inflation, tight economy. And I think if you can grow a business and scale a business in this type of environment, when the good times come, you're going to be really well positioned. Stay committed to what you're doing and stay focused. Any advice beyond that is not useful because you have to just build something that's robust enough to survive through the upheavals.
We talk about the current scenario also. अभी जो survive कर जाएगा वो सच में आगे क्योंकि जैसे ही हमें अभी जो edge मिलने वाला time आएगा.
I don't know. I think what's really important in a business, the impact you're driving, the lives you're changing. I think sometimes in the startup world, people are caught up in metrics that are less important, like how much money do you raise, and that's important. Raising money is a means to an end, right? It's not the core objective of a startup. It's about how you deploy those funds to make a meaningful impact on the ground. So the key thing is to remain focused on sort of the impact you're driving. What is the key focus of your business? What impact are you driving? What lives are you changing? What financial and social mobility are you enabling through your platform? And ultimately, everyone wants to make more money. But if you can improve financial inclusion, if you can improve upward mobility, that's how things begin to change at a country level, right?
And we're also, this advice applies to ourselves. We're also still, a startup and we're a growing company, and, being prudent with your finances through this tough time, because as you said, the good times will come, but you don't know when they're going to come. So you need to really spend time planning. You need to really, you need to cut out the excesses. This excessive, we're very quick to become excessive here. We had one good year, and it's like a big party. One good year is not enough. I mean, you need to really build that foundation before throwing that big party. That's what I say.
Yeah.
It's still now. I mean, they say, right, when you turn 18, you throw a big party, or you learn, you drive. So don't try to do it before that. You take your time and then do it. And then the right time will come. There'll be a right time for everything. So I think that's very important. Just every day can't be. You're gonna have to go through the downs and then celebrate the good times. And I think people who've built businesses will tell you that, because we've heard that from successful people, and so we also feel that that's the right way to do it.
How do you think that the community can actually help you scale your business, and what kind of obstacles that they can solve for you? I mean, there's more businesses that can be formed around you.
Yeah.
So what would be those? जी already कोई आपको कोई लगे कि mobility में या finance में आपका business help करने के लिए ये business start हो सकता है?
I think cooperation is super important, right? And I think one of the key changes you're going to see in the ecosystem, I believe, is going to be, I think previously, because there were fewer companies, there was a more adversarial relationship between startups. And I don't think that's healthy, because I think there's so much opportunity in this country. Every startup's going to find their own niche, what they're good at, and build a strong business around that. And you want everyone to succeed, right? So I think what I'm seeing now, at least in the last few months, is I'm seeing a lot more openness to cooperate and to help between startups and companies. And I think that's an amazing sort of mindset.
Yeah.
And I hope that continues. And we'd love to play our part in, I mean, we're growing our business. We've not achieved anything yet. We're still building our mission and our vision. So wherever we can sort of add value and learn, and we'd love to do that. And I think we're talking to a few people now, and we're cooperating with some startups. Yeah. And I'm really happy to see this change on the ground, because when you're growing an ecosystem, everyone must do it together.
It's like it's this ecosystem. I mean, look at Silicon Valley. It's like the center of the world for startups, and there's every kind of startup under the sun over there. From like a dog walking app to like to big banks, right? So to artificial intelligence and whatnot. So, and here we're just scratching the surface. So I think people need to cooperate and realize that, look, VCs and startups and everyone together needs to just cooperate and talk to each other and find where they can help each other, and and then things will get better. That's what we're open to, that sort of cooperation. And I hope that will happen in the next year.
You're right, and it's happening. There's so many more other than startups. There's so much more happening in technology, and then those people are only going to integrate in this community as well. There's going to be more startups. There's going to be more set के typical investment हो या सब. अब लोगों का education आई शुरू हुई है. अभी तो शुरू हुई है.
Yeah, absolutely.
तो बहुत कुछ होना है.
In the education sector, I hope that even big companies and big corporates, big people with money, they really invest in the education into the country, because that's going to help bring in more people into the workforce, and that'll translate into gains for all of us.
So there's a very large debate on that also. Education क्या कर सकते हैं, क्या करें. But I think ये चीज़ है जिसने सच में हमारे लोगों को help किया है. We have seen people make millions, and we've seen people have such large impacts just through this. चाहे business में हो, चाहे वो community में हो, चाहे वो social work के लिए हो, तो बहुत कुछ हो रहा है. So if there's anything you guys else might want to add, I think we have a very long conversation today. But
thank you so much for your time. It was really a pleasure.
No, thank you guys for coming. And
we appreciate it.
Finally, बहुत time से मैं आपको बुला रहा हूँ, but आगे, and it's a great honor to have you guys on.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you for your service to the country, because it's very good work that you're
No.
doing.
We hope that that the youth will continue and keep making those ideas into something real. We'd love to see that.
Yeah.
We'd love to guide them. If someone wants to reach out to us, and ask us about our experience or get some advice on starting a business or anything, we're open to that, honestly.
कोई आपसे इस तरह की advice लेना चाहे तो कहाँ पे आपको approach कर सकते हैं?
LinkedIn is great, give us a call.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Saad.
Startups, entrepreneurship, starting your own new business. Join me every week as we dive into stories, topics, and advices from the top founders, innovators, the crazy ones, the misfits, the troublemakers. Every Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll see you there.